nobody put good wine in an old leather bag. The old consciousness can't adapt to the new era, right? Okay, I want to start right there today because honestly, this single quote perfectly captures a profoundly radical shift in how we might view the future of human society. It's basically a demand to completely empty out our preconceptions, leave behind the mental structures we've relied on for centuries, and just prepare for something entirely different. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to take a fascinating, totally neutral look at a highly ambitious, sweeping sociological vision. Today, we are exploring the blueprint for Utopia. We'll be diving into the foundational text of the Life Shenyuan movement, specifically a manifesto originating from its founder, Guy Shufeng, or as it's known in its original context, Yanzu Shengming Chenyuan Chengyanwen Daoyou Shufeng. This text, titled The Song of the Universe, lays out a massive architectural plan for a totally new human epic. Guy Shufeng isn't just throwing out minor political reforms here, he is proposing a top-to-bottom reimagining of global society, spirituality, and even the basic family unit. So our goal today is to neutrally dissect the architecture of this vision, using the source material itself to see exactly what this proposed utopia actually looks like. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the spiritual premise. Second, our interconnected destiny. Third, the Life Shenyuan era vision. Fourth, dissolving nations and families. And finally, number 5, individual action and karma.
All right, moving into section 1, the spiritual premise. Subtitle here is One Earth, One Destiny.
So before getting into all the heavy societal restructuring, the author establishes this massive macro perspective of the Earth. And it all boils down to the number 1. The author builds his entire premise on this unifying concept. As the text puts it, there's only one sun shining on the earth, only one moon touching it, and ultimately, only one God for all human beings. Now, Guy Shufeng refers to this unifying divine force neutrally as the greatest creator. The core argument here is that regardless of race, nationality, or background, we're all children of this single creator. By starting with the number 1, he's basically attempting to immediately erase centuries of historical, racial, and theological divisions, giving us a complete blank slate for his new era. This brings us to section 2, our interconnected destiny, or the butterfly effect. Once the text establishes that we share one Earth, it moves on to prove that our modern lives are just inescapably connected. Just look at this quote from the text. The storm of Cape of Good Hope has close connection with the waving of the butterfly in Alaska. It's such a vivid, specific metaphor, right? Shufeng is essentially arguing that humanity is trapped on the same spaceship together. And because we share this single vessel, the idea that any of us can act in total isolation, well, the text treats that as a complete illusion. Every single action ripples across the globe. And this brilliantly illustrates how the author takes these really high-minded spiritual concepts and grounds them in very real, modern anxieties. The text points to things like distant earthquakes linked to laboratory tests, the way a single sneeze from an American president can literally cause a global media uproar, or how a localized case of bird flu creates instant worldwide panic. The founder leverages these examples to prove a really specific point. If our panics, our media, and our diseases don't respect borders, then the very act of drawing national borders in the first place is just a symbol of ignorance. To the author, a divided world is simply an unsustainable fiction. Interestingly enough, the text points to a very specific technological catalyst for this whole realization, the internet. Guy Shufeng doesn't just see the internet as some handy communication tool. No, he describes its birth, its application, and its popularization as the literal prelude to the Life Shenyuan era. It's essentially the technological manifestation of that interconnectedness. It's the network that makes the realization of a truly borderless world actually possible. Now for section 3, the Life Shenyuan era vision, a revolutionary utopia. Having laid all this groundwork of an interconnected planet, how does the text actually define this new epoch? Well, the Life Shenyuan era is described as a time that finally fulfills the ancient, unmet ideals of humanity's greatest spiritual figures. Notice the incredible syncretism happening here. The text explicitly blends Jesus Christ, Buddha, the Prophet Muhammad, and celestial Lao Tzu. It's wild. The author is suggesting that all these major world religious figures were, at their core, pointing toward the exact same historical destination: total global harmony. So, what does this harmony look like on the ground? The text offers some very specific utopian guarantees. Basically, fundamental human needs are completely removed from the equation of daily struggle. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is guaranteed housing, purposeful work, and food.
But honestly, perhaps the most striking guarantee is the level of security. The text promises a society so completely devoid of crime, theft, and desperation that doors are, quote, unnecessarily to be shut in the evening. It is a vision of a world completely purged of the anxieties that usually drive human conflict.
Okay, moving right along to Section 4, Dissolving Nations and Families. Radical Contrasts. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the uncompromising contrast the text presents to achieve this flawless security. In the old era, which is basically our current world, nations, political parties, religions, and exclusive families are identified as the actual sources of human misery and division. So, to enter the new era, they simply must be dissolved. And in their place, we're talking one global government led by sages, children raised entirely by society, and yes, you heard that right, a completely free and open romantic life across all races, totally without the bounds of traditional marriage or exclusivity.
Of course, this naturally raises a massive question. If the traditional family is dissolved, who takes care of people? Well, the author's answer is that society itself absorbs these roles. Just look at this breakdown. The young and the old are cared for by the collective. End-of-life care, handled by society. Education is entirely a societal undertaking. Even disease and natural disasters are tackled as a unified global front. The argument Guy Shufeng makes is that in exchange for giving up the private exclusive family unit, humanity is freed from the crushing individual burdens of childcare, elder care, and healthcare. The collective literally becomes the family.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Individual Action and Karma, the light burden. We've talked a lot about massive global governments and dissolving nations, but how does this actually translate to everyday individual behavior? Well, it starts with a really unique interpretation of karma. The text assures the reader that every single action matters. Specifically, it claims that merits are recorded in your non-material structure of life. You don't need to be a billionaire or a powerful politician to contribute to this utopia. The author insists that simple good deeds, like just offering a smile, giving a praising word, or making things a little more convenient for a stranger, are permanently embedded in your spiritual structure. It's like the universe is keeping score, and it highly values simple kindness. So the actual steps to embracing this new era are highly personal. Step 1, change your consciousness. You just have to let go of the old ways. Step 2, deepen your understanding of this interconnected reality we talked about. Step 3, actively choose to feel happy and grateful for being alive. And Step 4, dedicate your love selflessly. Guy Zhuifeng is incredibly blunt right here. He writes that living strictly for yourself, your small family, or your specific country is, quote, pathetic, miserable, and short-sighted. True nobility, what he calls becoming a saint or a sage, comes only from dedicating your love selflessly to the entirety of humanity. But here is perhaps the most surprising part of this entire manifesto. Despite calling for the absolute end of nations, religions, and families, the text explicitly tells followers not to rebel. The author promises that the burden of the greatest creator is light and easy. The text specifically states it does not demand heavy responsibilities. It explicitly says, do not gather to fight against the government. Instead, followers are instructed to just take things as they come, dispose of things as they go, and act according to nature. It is a philosophy of peaceful, almost passive adaptation. It's trusting that this new era is a historical inevitability, not something that needs to be won through violent revolution. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've mapped out Guy Zhuifeng's vast, highly ambitious vision for the life Shenwan era. From recognizing our interconnected destiny all the way to the radical proposal of socializing all human care and completely dissolving borders. It is without a doubt an undeniable leap of sociological imagination. But it leaves us with a massive question to ponder. Does dissolving nations and traditional families truly offer the ultimate blueprint for global peace? Or does it demand a fundamental sacrifice of human individuality and private connection? It's a profound question, and definitely one well worth thinking about long after we wrap up here today.